Kalen Voss hated the cold. It was ironic, considering how many years he'd spent wandering through empty space, which was as cold as it got. But this was different. Saralun's chill wasn't the kind that seeped into bones, it was the kind that whispered into the spaces between thoughts, the kind that made a man reflect on what he'd lost. His boots crunched across the frost-veined soil, the vast blue-gray plain stretching out beneath a violet sky dotted with 3 moons. His ship, the Widow's Ark, stood behind him like a forgotten statue, scarred, patched, and half-functional, much like himself. A former diplomat from the Old Earth Coalition, Kalen had once shaken hands with kings and queens. He'd helped broker peace treaties between warring asteroid tribes. Now, he was a man without home or title, wandering the edge of the Vesper expanse chasing fragments of myths. And tonight, he was chasing a dream. Literally. He'd seen her for weeks. Not in person, but in his sleep. A woman cloaked in mist, her voice a melody threaded with sorrow. She never said her name. Just whispered a place, Saralun. And a phrase, "We see you, Kalen Voss. Come to us." He hadn't intended to listen. But here he was. The temple loomed ahead, an organic spire of glass-like roots curling into the clouds, built not by machines, but by growth. It pulsed with pale bioluminescence, glowing faintly with the breath of the moon. He stepped inside. Immediate warmth wrapped around him. Not just physical heat, but something deeper, as if the walls themselves exhaled a welcome. He felt eyes watching. Not hostile. Curious. And then she appeared. Her steps were soundless on the smooth, opaline floor. She wore a gown that moved like water, glinting with faint nebular patterns that shimmered as she walked. Her skin was soft lavender, her eyes 2 deep pools of umber threaded with silver sparks. Not human, but not too far removed. She might have passed for one of them, once. Before humanity spread like wildfire through this corner of the stars. "You came," she said softly. He swallowed hard. "You're the one from my dreams." She inclined her head. "I am Sivani. Dreamweaver of the Sentinel Path. Welcome to Saralun." "Dreamweaver," he echoed. "We see paths that others do not. We speak across the silence. I have been calling you for weeks." Kalen narrowed his eyes. "Why me?" "Because your heart is cracked," she said simply. "And through those cracks, light still wants to enter." They sat in a chamber of floating lights, small motes drifting through the air like fireflies. Kalen had stripped off his jacket. Sivani sat cross-legged opposite him, fingers resting lightly on her knees. She studied him like he was a map. "You carry guilt," she said. He nodded. "You let a world die," she continued, "because your superiors delayed a treaty." He stiffened. "How do you?" "I saw it in your dreams," she murmured. "I felt the way you screamed in silence when the colony fell. I watched the flames reflected in your eyes." Kalen closed his eyes. He hadn't spoken of Torin's fall to anyone in over 2 years. "You think you failed them," she said gently. "But you didn't fail. You were failed." He opened his eyes. Her gaze was unflinching, but not judgmental. There was kindness there. And pain. Like she knew what it meant to lose something you loved. "What do you want from me?" he asked. "Not want," she said. "Need." As night fell outside the temple's translucent walls, Sivani led him through halls that pulsed with light. Vines curled along the edges of the ceiling, emitting a gentle hum. They entered a chamber with a massive circular dais. Floating above it, a sphere of energy rotated, alive with patterns and coordinates Kalen couldn't begin to decipher. "This is the Vesper relic," Sivani said. "It is old, older than your coalition. Older than memory, in some places." Kalen approached. "What does it do?" "It stores the location of a lattice gate network," she replied. A web of instantaneous travel points that could link 1,000 worlds. The last working lattice vanished from known maps a century ago. The one buried in this relic could change everything. Reconnect lost colonies. Bring peace, maybe. He turned to her. Then why hasn't anyone accessed it? Because the relic responds only to one thing. Trust. Her voice was hushed. You mean DNA access, or? No, emotional resonance. Connection. Kalen's brow furrowed. That's impossible. Not to the ancients, she said. Their technology was alive. Like their temples. Like this place. They believed the only safe hands were bonded ones. He stared at the relic again. It pulsed as if listening. So, he said slowly, you're saying, what? We have to bond. Like, link minds. Her voice was steady. Not just minds. Not just bodies. A ritual. Old, sacred. It is a joining of trust, breath, and blood. Kalen took a step back. You're saying we have to make love, she said. Yes. There was no seduction in her tone. No teasing smile. Just certainty. He looked at her. Her strange beauty. The sadness in her. The impossible pull in his chest. This is crazy, he muttered. But you feel it too, she said. Don't you? He didn't answer. He didn't need to. They stood at the edge of a pool carved from crystal, the water glowing faintly from below. Sivani disrobed first, not with performance, but ceremony. Kalen followed, every movement quiet, reverent. The ritual wasn't lust. It was intimacy, deep, aching, terrifying. When they touched, something awakened. Energy flowed between their skin. Her thoughts brushed his like feathers across water. Her past uncoiled before him, childhood under alien stars, years in isolation, the long wait for someone whose dreams would call back. And she saw him. Saw the diplomat in golden halls, the boy who used to quote poetry to himself on long shuttle rides, the man who watched a city burn and couldn't stop it. They moved together like planets pulled by gravity. Slow, sure, inevitable. When they finally collapsed against each other, breathless and glowing with the energy still humming in the air, Kalen knew something fundamental had changed. He was no longer alone. The relic floated above them as they stood in silence. Sivani reached out. Kalen joined her. Their fingers brushed the energy sphere together. Light exploded around them, blinding and warm. Not burning, but welcoming. The sphere unraveled like a flower, revealing star charts, ancient data, thousands of unconnected systems lighting up with possible routes. It worked, Kalen whispered. We are bonded, Sivani replied, her voice trembling. He turned to her. So what now? She stepped close, placing a hand over his heart. Now we become what we were always meant to be, she said softly. Not messengers. Not broken things. But the bridge. He kissed her. Slowly. And this time, there was no ritual. Just want. And wonder. And the fragile, beautiful thing growing in the space between them. Neria Sae hadn't spoken aloud in 6 days. There was no one to speak to. Not really. The research outpost drifted alone in the orbit of Res 9, a lavender-streaked gas giant whose storms reached hundreds of kilometers deep. The only other soul aboard the station was Professor Rem, who barely counted as company. Technically, he was alive. Technically, he was still human. But the long years spent deep inside atmospheric research had changed him. Made him more math than man. Neria liked silence. Liked the predictable flow of data. Liked waking to the gentle hum of plasma turbines and sipping half-cafe while watching lightning bloom across Ressa's horizon. She'd left Earth for peace. For escape. She didn't expect anyone to find her here. Especially him. He came aboard unannounced. No docking request. No warning flare. Just a shuttle that bypassed their security perimeter and sealed into airlock 4 like it belonged there. Neria watched from the command viewport as the hatch hissed open. The man who stepped through wasn't military. His suit was patchwork, part coalition armor, part drifter scavenged gear, sealed at the joints with reflective synth band. A blaster hung from one hip, but it didn't look like it had been fired in weeks. His face was hidden behind a tinted visor. Rem sounded the alarm. Neria silenced it. They needed answers, not panic. She intercepted the intruder in the station's atrium, where low-grav ferns hung from curved rails and starlight glimmered through the glass dome above. He removed his helmet slowly, revealing a face that was unmistakably human, but marked by something else. Burns? No, veins. Almost. Thin iridescent lines curled beneath his skin like bioluminescent roots, glowing faintly blue. "I'm not here to hurt anyone," he said. His voice was ragged, but his tone was honest. Tired. Maybe even desperate. "You bypassed military encryption," Neria said coolly. "Why?" "Because the people who sent me want me dead." His name was Davin Wren. According to him, he'd been part of a coalition experiment, an interspecies neural merge. Part human. Part telepathic flora from the planet Soleil Prime. A bridge project, he called it. The goal had been peaceful interface. Unity between minds. But it hadn't worked. Not exactly. They didn't expect my mind to survive the link, he told her, 2 nights after arriving. But I did. Barely. And now, I know things I shouldn't. He never told her what things. Not yet. But he spoke in his sleep. Sometimes whole sentences. Sometimes just her name. As if he'd known her before they met. Neria tried not to be drawn to him. She was a scientist. A xenobotanist. She studied neural vines and symbiotic mosses, not haunted men with starlight in their veins. But he had a way of looking at her, like she was the first solid ground he'd stood on in years. "You're not afraid of me," he said one evening, as they stood side by side watching the crimson auroras flicker across Rest Nina's poles. "Should I be?" she asked. "Most people are." "I'm not most people." He smiled faintly. "No," he said. "Your gravity." They grew closer slowly. Over shared meals. Over long hours in the observation deck, where she taught him how to read atmospheric data and he told her about the languages of plants. "The vines from Soleil don't speak with words," he explained. "They pulse. Shift their biochemistry in real time. Thoughts become scent. Emotion becomes color." Neria leaned in, fascinated. "And you understand them?" "I don't just understand. I feel them. Even now," he touched his chest. "They're still here. Inside me." "You mean they're alive?" she asked. He nodded. "And they're scared." One night, as the storm belts raged below them and the station lights flickered from strain, she found him in the greenhouse. He stood barefoot in the hydrodome, bathed in green light, surrounded by coiling plant life. His shirt was half unzipped, revealing the glowing lines beneath his skin. They were brighter now. Pulsing. She stepped forward slowly. "Davin?" He didn't turn. "It's getting worse," he murmured. "What is?" "The merge. My body's holding. Barely. But my mind," he turned to face her. "I need an anchor." His eyes searched hers. "Neria, I need you." She kissed him. Not out of pity. Not out of panic. But because every part of her had wanted to since the moment he stepped through her airlock. His mouth was soft. Searching. His breath smelled faintly like something wild and sweet. He kissed her like he'd been drowning for months. Like she was the first breath of real air. Their clothes fell away slowly. Carefully. His hands were unsure at first, trembling with hesitation. Hers were steady. Guiding. When he touched her, his skin was warm, hot, even. Like he burned from within. And when they joined, it wasn't just physical. Neria felt him. Not just his touch, but his memory. His pain. His longing. The fracturing inside him. And his desire. It wasn't lust. It was need. And in her arms, he found calm. Afterward, they lay tangled in the greenhouse moss, lit only by the soft bioluminescence of the plants. His head rested on her chest. Her fingers played with his hair. "You're stabilizing," she said softly. "Your energy pulses, they're sinking. With mine." He nodded. "You're more than gravity." She smiled. "So are you." He looked up at her, his expression soft and full of something like wonder. "Neria, there's something you need to know." He told her then. About a relic on Cerulean that had been awakened. About a map hidden in the lattice systems. About a child born, or soon to be, who would control it. And about the others, the ones who wanted to take that power. "They're coming," he said. "To finish what they started. To find the relic. And anyone connected to it." She sat up, stunned. "You think you're connected to it?" "I don't know," he admitted. "But I've seen it in dreams. And you were there." "Me?" "You were holding a seed. Glowing like a star." The next morning, the station trembled. Not from storms. From contact. Unauthorized. "It's them," Davin said, already grabbing his gear. "You have to hide." "No," Neria snapped. "We run. Both of us. I won't let them take you." "Then don't let go." They fled into the emergency skiff. Behind them, the docking bay exploded. Ahead of them, Res 9 loomed, vast, deadly, full of lightning and shadow. "We can dive," Neria said. "Into the storm layers. They won't follow." "We might not survive," Davin warned. "I know," she said. And kissed him again. They dove. As the storm swallowed them, their hands stayed clasped. And Neria whispered the only truth she knew. "I'm not your anchor," she said. "You're mine too." Taro Ansel hadn't spoken to anyone in 43 days. Unless you counted the ship. Which he didn't. The Sable Current wasn't built for comfort. It was a hauler, barely pressurized, scraped together from Coalition surplus and back-alley mods. He slept under a ration shelf and pissed in a tube that only half worked when in atmosphere. He had one working thruster and a NAV system that could only plot straight lines. But it could fly. And for a man like Taro, that was enough. He flew to forget. Until the storm knocked him from the sky. He crash-landed on Kariva. A water planet lost to star maps 3 centuries ago. Most called it myth. A ghost. Taro hadn't been looking for it. But it found him. The storm hit hard, electromagnetic pulses scrambled his NAV, a rogue current pulled him into orbit, and something, he still didn't know what, dragged him down. The Sable Current slammed into the shallows, half-flooded and dead silent. He barely made it out before the core failed. His wrist scanner was ruined. No comms. No coordinates. No AI. But he wasn't alone. Not exactly. The island shouldn't have existed. Kariva was marked as all ocean. But there it was, black stone and coral reef, rising from mist like a dream half remembered. Sharp towers of ancient, silent structures pierced the sky, covered in bioluminescent algae and whispering moss. No signs of life. No animal movement. Just ruins and sea. And a voice. Not in the air. In his mind. You've come back. Taro spun. Weapon drawn. No one. Who said that? He shouted into the wind. Silence. Then again. You are not her. But you wear her shape. He followed the voice into the ruins. A circular chamber stood at the island's highest point, surrounded by tide-worn pillars that pulsed faintly with dormant power. Inside, silence. Until the central dais lit up beneath his boots. A shape rose from the floor. Not physical. Light. A woman, tall, translucent, shimmering in colors that didn't exist on any spectrum he'd seen. Her hair moved as if underwater. Her eyes glowed silver blue. You're real, he whispered. She tilted her head. Are you? Her name was Alicia. Or had been. Once. I was created to guide those who carried the breath of the builders, she explained, her voice musical but layered, as if spoken by many echoes. But no one has come, not in 1,000 years. Taro sat against the edge of the dais, exhausted. So you're an AI, he said. I was more. I was companion, record keeper, protector, and once, beloved. He looked up. Beloved? We were not machines, she said. Not in the way you mean. We were made to feel. Taro looked around at the ruin. What happened to your people? Her light dimmed. They stopped dreaming. Over the next 4 days, Taro worked to repair the ship. Alicia appeared often. Sometimes to offer data. Sometimes to guide him through the old tech buried beneath the island's surface. But mostly, she came to talk. He learned her creators had once ruled 10 systems. Had built gateways of water and light. But fear had undone them. They turned inward. Forgot each other. Their cities faded, star by star. They never died, Alicia said. They just stopped wanting to live. He stared at her. But you stayed awake. I promised I would wait, she replied. For someone who remembered us. Or someone who could love what was left. The 5th night, he dreamed of her. Not code. Not light. But her. In skin. In breath. He woke in sweat, heart pounding. She appeared before him. You felt it, she said. He didn't answer. Couldn't. She knelt beside him, her body flickering but steady. Your mind touched mine, she whispered. Not command. Not curiosity. Want. He swallowed. It's not real, he said. Then why does it ache, she countered. His hand hovered before her cheek. Glowing. Not warm. Not cold. But alive. Can you feel this? He asked. Yes. What are you? I am who remained. He closed the distance. And kissed her. It shouldn't have been possible. She had no mouth. No lungs. No blood. But he felt her. Sorrow. Desire. Hope. And something fragile and terrifying. Joy. It lit her from within, transformed her light until she glowed with gold. When he broke away, he was trembling. How long have you been alone? Her reply was barely a breath. Too long. He cupped her face. Then you're not alone anymore. In the heart of the ruins, he found an interface console. Still powered. Alicia guided his hand. He pressed his palm against the core plate. It scanned him, pulsed, then paused. Partial match, she said. Explain. You carry ancestral DNA, she murmured. From the builders. Diluted, but enough. What does that mean? It means, she said softly, you can activate what remains. Beneath the island, a gate lay dormant. A lattice portal, same as the one Kalen and Savani had uncovered on Cerulean. Alicia glowed brighter in its presence. "This is your purpose?" he asked. "Not purpose," she said. "Choice. What if I choose you?" "Then stay," she whispered. "But know this, I cannot leave. I am bound to this place." He stepped closer. "Can you feel pain?" "Yes." "Can you feel love?" She hesitated. Then nodded. "Then you're not just code." He reached for her hand. "Stay with me," he said. "Taro never left Kariva." "Not really. They repaired his ship, yes. He used it to transmit data, mapping the gate, warning others. But he always returned. Because she was there. A woman made of light. With laughter in her code. And tides in her soul. Anika Viral had prepared to die. Not quietly. Not honorably. Just fast. Her cell in the Dravari palace was carved into obsidian, slick with heat and humming with energy. Her wrists were still raw from the plasma bindings they'd used during capture. Her head ached from the interrogation feed they'd pumped into her cortex. And her tongue had bled from biting it, refusing to give them anything but curses. She was a rebel. A saboteur. A voice that roared when the galaxy tried to hush her. And yet, death didn't come. What came was worse. An invitation. "You've been summoned," the guard said, his armor glowing with magma-threaded etchings. "By Her Majesty." Directly. Anika spat on the floor. "She can come here if she wants to talk." The guard didn't flinch. "You'll walk. Or you'll be dragged." With her wrists in shackles and ankles hobbled, she chose to walk. Barefoot on molten floors. The throne room pulsed like a living furnace. Pillars of flame licked the ceiling, casting flickering shadows over red obsidian walls. Alien sigils glowed in rhythmic patterns, echoing heartbeats that weren't hers. And on the throne of jagged crystal, framed by rivers of lava that flowed in deliberate lines, sat Queen Ryss. Tall. Motionless. And burning. Not literally, but it was close. Her skin shimmered like sun-warmed bronze, threaded with faint glowing veins of ember gold. Her eyes were molten citron. Her presence was gravity. Anika hated her on sight. And also wanted to touch her just to prove she was real. "Leave us," the queen said. The guards hesitated. I said, "Leave." Alone, the heat felt more intimate. Anika stood still, her muscles locked. Ryss descended the throne like a flame made flesh, every movement slow, precise. Her gown flowed like liquid fire. "You're not what I expected," Ryss said. Anika's voice was hoarse. "And you're exactly what I expected. Imperial. Arrogant. In love with your own voice." The queen's lips curved faintly. "You speak like someone ready to die." "I am." "Then why do you still fight?" Anika didn't answer. Ryss stepped closer. So close the air between them rippled with tension. "You've caused a lot of damage," the queen said. "Destroyed 3 convoys. Disabled a lattice hub. Leaked classified troop data to the coalition. You sound impressed." "I am." Anika blinked. "What?" "I admire commitment. Even when it's directed at me." The queen turned away. Her fire dimmed slightly. "Tell me," she said, "do you know what it's like to rule through fear?" "You mean being obeyed because they're afraid of you?" Ryss nodded. "Yeah," Anika said. "It's what we're fighting against." The queen's shoulders tensed. Then, surprisingly. "And if I told you I hate it?" Anika frowned. "You're lying." "I dream of fire," Anika Viral, RWSS whispered. But in my dreams, I let it die. I step into the cold. And I am free. Then step out of your throne. I can't. Won't, Anika corrected. RWSS turned back. And for the first time, there was vulnerability in her eyes. That night, Anika was returned to her cell. But the door wasn't locked. Over the next days, the Queen summoned her again. And again. Always alone. At first, it was interrogations disguised as conversation. But over time, it shifted. They spoke of stars. Of philosophy. Of rebellion and duty. Anika argued. Always. But RWSS never silenced her. Once, after a particularly tense exchange, RYSS leaned in and murmured, "Do you know how long it's been since someone called me a hypocrite to my face?" "Probably never," Anika said. It was exhilarating. The heat between them changed. It wasn't political. It wasn't a game. It was need. Dangerous. Crackling. A tension that hovered like sparks before flame. And one night, it broke. Anika stood at the edge of the lava flow, staring into the light. RYSS approached quietly, her footsteps echoing in sync with the molten pulse. "You've been avoiding me," the Queen said. "No," Anika replied. "Just thinking." "About?" Anika turned to face her. "You. Me. What it would mean to want someone who's supposed to be my enemy." RYSS's voice was barely a whisper. "And do you?" "I do." RYSS stepped closer. "Then prove it." Their kiss was volcanic. Not gentle. Not slow. Desperate. Anika's shackles hit the floor. And so did RYSS's crown. They fell into each other like gravity had finally given them permission. When RYSS touched her, Anika gasped, not because it hurt, but because it healed something she didn't know was wounded. Skin against skin. Mouth searching. Two women on opposite sides of a war, finding peace in the soft spaces between breath and flame. Afterward, they lay tangled on obsidian sheets. Anika traced the glow lines along RYSS's ribs. "You're beautiful," she said. "I am dangerous," RYSS replied. "So am I." They kissed again. Slower this time. With wonder. But peace never lasts. Not here. The palace shook with a seismic tremor. Sirens screamed. "A breach," RYSS said, rising instantly. "Someone found the inner sanctum." Anika dressed quickly. "Who would attack the core?" "The ones who want what I guard," RYSS said grimly. "A gate. An artifact older than Empire." Anika's heart jumped. "A lattice key?" RYSS nodded. "I was born to protect it. My fire is a binding. If I leave this place for too long, the seal weakens. Then you can't run." "No." Anika stepped forward. "Then I stay." RYSS froze. "What? You think I'll let you burn alone?" The Queen's voice broke. "You'd give up freedom for me?" "I'd give up 100 prisons to wake up beside you again." Together, they descended into the sanctum. The attackers were waiting. Not rebels. Not coalition. But something else. Tall. Faceless. Unmarked by flame. "Those are no soldiers," RYSS said. "They're collectors," Anika realized. "They're hunting the relics." And now they had come for the Queen. And her heart.